only am I back, he's back.
So am I, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Bruce. The bass come, guitarist come, singer come, well, he does it all. So his wife says. Well, what do you think? Look, all of the shadowing's gone. I've got these two big bright lights glaring at me. And the missus will put her sunglasses on in a moment. But we're not here for that. Well, the first thing I've got to say is, this thing in this box doesn't belong to me. It was sent to me by, well, a Far Eastern company to review, so I don't own it. Yeah, they do. But what they did say is they said, well, we'll send you one, as they do. So it's a sort of sponsored, but it's not sponsored because they didn't actually say to me, you must say this or you must do that, which a lot of people do on actually on YouTube these days. But as most of you all know, I'm not like that. I'll always tell it the way it is. And of course, the second thing I'm going to do is to give this guitar away. Yeah. So wait for it. How do you do it? How do you try and get this guitar? Well, you've got to wait till the end of the video. Well, you've got to wait till somewhere in the video, so I'd watch it all if I was you. So the thing is, take a look at it. Well, what is it? Well, I'm as happy as Glarry. What do you mean? Well, the company that sent me this resides at www.glarrymusic.com. You can see it on the screen now. Yeah, how good's that? So I'm as happy as Glarry. What about you?
I'm as happy as Glarry all the time.
He's as happy as Glarry too. I hope you are as well. So anybody that wants to say, by the way, that this is a sponsored video, you can. And anybody that knows better, well, you can too. So one of the things I can tell you about this thing, now we're going to start looking at it, is I've got a part number here, and it's G666, well it would be, 17002996. So you could say it's a pretty evil guitar. And it is a guitar, right? Yeah, fabulous colour too. Matches a car I used to own. So let's get the lid off and have a look inside. I can't wait, what about you?
Oh yeah. Bring it on, baby.
Bring it on. So let's unbox it. You can see it from here, hopefully. Whoa. Go over there. Oh my God, you get a case. Soft case, but one of them that'll fit on your back as well. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Chuck that down there. Oh, we've got some more things here. We've got a whammy bar. An Allen key, it's all in here, and of course a wire to connect it to an amp. And lastly we've got a guitar strap and a pick. What about that? Yeah. What more do you want for your money? Oh, let me get this thing out and we'll take a closer look. Okay, well here we have it. Aren't you excited? I am.
Wow.
This is a sort of yellowy colour. It looks great actually in real life. I don't know what it's going to be like in there. I think it goes with the whites of Alan's eyes. So, matches perfectly. However, you can see it's a sort of Strat type. All very nice. And they did include this this book, and I'm glad they did. Because it does tell me that it's a GST electric guitar. Yeah, I'm not very good with all the information, but we'll soon work our way through this one. So it's a single pickup set. We all know what the layout generally is. And it's a basswood body, rather like some of the Ibanez. It's got maple neck and fingerboard. And you can get it in these colours. You've got black, red, blue, yellow, green, sunset and sky blue. And my guess is that's yellow. So there. Importantly, on the front of this, you've got a 5% off everything with a promo code, which I might talk about later on. Or I might not. Depends what mood I'm in and whether you argue with me. Okay, well what we're going to do now, I know Alan's excited about this like I am, is we're going to bring the camera in close and do a bit of a run through of the guitar as it came. And don't forget, later in the video, you're going to see this being played with a bit of rock music, I think. Yeah, I've got a driving pedal and I'll make it all work, right? Can't wait, can you? Okay, well here we go. A close-up of the Glarry GST. As I said, comes in all them different colours. This is the yellow one. It's a sort of mustardy yellow if you were in the room, so to speak. And I like this colour. Although it's a solid colour, it's pretty nice. So let's just have a quick run through of the basic things. You'll know most of them. It's very much, well, designed around a Stratocaster style. What you've got down here is the obvious. Yeah, it's where you put that lead that comes with the guitar. And pretty obvious, as most people know, that's where it plugs into the amp. We've got a bridge here that is sort of reminiscent of the original, but it has got cast saddles. You can see them quite clearly here. I might even put a picture on the screen so you can see a close-up. We've got a screw-in tremolo, which is also pretty good. We've got the usual 6 screws across the tremolo for holding it in position and adjustments and things like that. We've got the volume and 2 tones, which don't feel too bad, but I would say that you could knock them, but that's life, isn't it? You might want to be doing other things with them. And the same with this, so all 3 are pretty similar in feel. It's a sort of slackish sort of feel. We've also got a 5-way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way switch, which is, yeah, nice. Now then, on these pickups, you can see them here. Well, my guess is these are single coil, probably ceramic pickups, as opposed to the Alnico magnets and all the rest of it that, well, tend to be higher up the range, but that's okay. Another thing I like about this guitar, by the way, is I can't actually feel where it's joined. And what you get on a lot of more budget guitars is you run your finger across and you can feel the joins across the body, 2, 3 or 4 pieces. I don't feel any on this, and I'm not saying that this isn't made of a number of pieces, but what I am saying is it's made well enough so that you can't tell. And I think that's an important aspect when you're looking at a guitar. You do want to look good, don't you?
Yeah, some you can actually see the joints.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can. Yeah, even on the Gibsons and the Fenders, I've seen them myself. Okay, well, here we are down looking at the neck area, and this is a maple neck, and the frets are very typically reasonable, actually. I wouldn't call them, you know, high-level Fender neck frets, but neither do they dig into you, and I think that's an important aspect, particularly on a lower-cost guitar. What you don't want to do is to be put off when you particularly buy one of these when you start to learn, because the guitar's not actually very good. This one's very, it's quite workable and doesn't dig in, and that's the important thing. Looking at the frets themselves, I did have a fret thing on this earlier to check for leveling of frets, and they all look pretty level. I couldn't make anything sort of bounce between 3 of them, as you should. However, it's like everything else. Yours might be good, it might not be good. Who knows? But this one appears to be working. And what I'll be doing before I actually play this is I'll be doing a bit of a setup, and I'll probably change the strings, although the strings it comes with are probably serviceable. But I like particular strings, so that's one of the things that will be being done. Other than that, on the neck, there's not really much you can see. It's quite a flat neck as well. It's not like you know, one of the 7-inch or 7 1/4, I think they are, 7.5-inch radius early Strats. Not like that at all. It's quite a flat neck, and it reminds me a lot of an Ibanez. At least it does on the surface. Okay, now on this guitar, as you can see, we've got some black markers, fret markers, but when you get to the 15th fret, this one's been smudged a little bit, so it does have a smudge on it, and yeah, it's not perfect by any means, but at the cost of this guitar, which I'm going to tell you about a little later, well, you're going to get the odd blemish, probably. I think to even make it for the price that it is quite incredible. And something else to note on this, it looks to me like the neck's got a very, very light finish on it, a sort of really light finish, and it's sort of like a matte finish. That's how I describe that. Okay, here we are further down the neck, and one thing I did want to look at quite closely is the nut. Now this is a standard run-of-the-mill nut. It looks like plastic to me or something very similar. I don't have actually any information on it, but it's not set up bad if you look at it. And we've got a bit of a lift in there, but you've got to remember that the frets are fine, but the string heights aren't set up quite as low as I'd like, and might be fine for other people. But just assuming what you see here regarding string heights, don't assume that they're too high, because they're probably not. But once again, the frets look quite reasonable, and they were, I would at least expect on a guitar of this quality and price, but it's nothing to be sniffed at. What do you say?
It's surprisingly smooth, the edge of the fretstock. I've tried other guitars where you get a distinct rasp off.
Right, right. How does it compare to, say, a vintage? Because I know you've got some vintage guitars, haven't you?
Well, just the brief look I've had, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ones that I did get a buzz from off the frets was the bass.
Right.
Which is vintage bass. It was,
but if I told you this guitar was less than 100 quid.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was going on for 300. So
exactly.
I was surprised.
Well, here we are at the headstock, and no surprises here. You've got a hole here for adjusting the truss rod, and the usual two string clamps for holding the strings down so you get a good angle over this nut here. Which is always very important, actually. Well, they don't look much, they actually do a pretty good job. They're very much like Fender ones. Yeah, and the wood continues along the vein of being maple. Very nice maple, nicely figured. And there's the glorious Glarry logo, which, don't forget, you're going to be as happy as Glarry when you get this. Especially if you win it. Well, here we are around the back, where you see the obvious tuners, very much like another brand. Well, they look like another brand, a famous brand, but I don't think they are. But yeah, they're quite serviceable and they work. That's the thing. They're not overly anything. They're not over tight or over slack, and they seem to do a reasonable job. And that's all you can expect, really. You know, when you're paying this sort of money, you never can get £200 tuners, or tuners as the Americans would say, on a guitar like this. But nevertheless, they're very serviceable, and that's really what matters. I like the back too. And I noticed that on the back here, I don't see any finish, but there could be some if it was sort of like a sort of very thin matte finish. Hard to tell. And one thing I did notice, although I'm picking at straws a little bit here, it's hard to find things that are they're really bad or anything like that, and that's not my intention. The intention is just to show you what you get for the money. And if you notice just down there, there's a sort of thin scratch going off to the end of the headstock. Now then, on to the important aspect of the neck shape. I would call this a sort of C-shape neck. But it's not like one of the most modern ones. You know, you've seen them where there's a sort of offset on the neck itself, even on a C-shape. But this one's more uniform all the way across. So expect it to be a reasonably thick C-shape, like some of them earlier Gibsons. And I know it's not a Gibson, but that's fine. I'm just trying to describe the feel of the neck, which is never too easy when you're making a video. Now, moving down to the neck joint, you know, often you'll see on a lot of guitars, particularly the more budget guitars, you'll see not the best neck joint in the world, and I've even bought them personally off eBay, or well, I call them other things sometimes, but I've even seen them where you can fit pieces of paper in there and things like that. Well, I did check this one with a pick, because on the face of it, it does look as if there's a bit of a gap there, but in reality, there isn't. There is no gap. It just looks that way. Okay, well, here we are having a quick look in the back pocket for where the tremolo goes. And it's got its earthing soldering on there. It's got the claw. This one's got 3 springs in it, as you can see. Not too bad at all, really. But you will notice that on the tremolo itself, it's got one of these thinner type of tremolo units that's sort of cut out. Rather similar to some of the more budget Fenders that I've seen kicking around. And you've still got, look, sawdust inside, so that's a good thing. Okay, well let's end up round the back. Just saying that I don't see any wood joints, as I've said before. And it's got a nice cutaway here, which is a sort of deep type of cutaway, not one of those shallow ones that you see from time to time. And lastly, just in case I missed it off, you can see that this front comes with plastic that's removable, that's on the pickguard, or some people call it scratch plate. Okay, well, here we are back up top, so to speak, and yeah, ready to move on with this. Well, what I'm going to do is to restring this and adjust the heights, although they're perfectly okay as they are. For a lot of guys, you know, especially when you first start out with guitar, it's particularly useful for that sort of thing. I remember having a guitar called a Top 20 from a place called Woolworths in England. It cost me £29 in them days. So this costs more. In fact, let me tell you what it costs right now so we get that out of the way. This one is about £72 in England. Yeah, that's the whole deal. You get the guitar, you get the case, you get the strap, you get the little adjuster for the truss rod, you get the pick, and what else you get?
Whammy bar.
Yeah, the whammy bar and bits and pieces anyway. And of course,
The case.
yeah, you get your case. But you get that discount off the next lot, which I might talk about. Depends how good you are. So what I'm going to do with this one now is I'm going to restring this with my favourite Ernie Ball strings, make a few adjustments to the string heights, and just make sure everything's nice. Yeah, as you should. And then, yeah, we'll go and play. Yeah. Just before I do that, we've got to cover one of the most important aspects of the whole video. How do you win it? Right, well, it's all very simple. First of all, it can only be really for the people in the UK mainland, unless you want to pay a lot of shipping, because I won't ship it to you at my expense. It'll be shipped to you at yours, or you can collect it. I don't care which. The winner will be the person that has the best excuse for owning one of these. Is that right? Yeah, that seems like a great plan, doesn't it?
Seems very worthwhile, that does.
By the way, you can't apply.
No, I can't do that.
So I'm going to go and fit the strings, make a few adjustments, and I'll be back presently. We're back after that little escapade of fitting strings, checking the adjustment, and all that sort of good stuff. And first thing I can tell you, and he'll agree, at least he better.
The intonation was pretty good.
The intonation was actually perfect. We never adjusted it. And in fact, with these strings on, we didn't adjust the string height either. So basically, it came set up correctly. Yeah, I can't say more. We used that little thing behind my shoulder there to do a quick check. Humming a bit in here because of the lights and things, but we'll find out what that's like later. But what we can also confirm, as the picture on the screen's showing you right now, is that you can actually remove the pickguard or scratch plate and fit humbuck as if you got another pickguard, couldn't you?
Yeah, it was all fitted out.
Yeah. If there's anything to say about inside there, I'd like to have seen higher quality pots, but those are changeable. And a higher quality switch, which is also changeable. But I think the pickups didn't sound that bad, did they? It's a little bit of hum, as I said, which was coming, probably emanating from the wiring itself. You've seen the picture anyway, so you know what we know, and can't be bad. Okay then, well, what about the summing up? There's got to be some summing up being done. The books have got to be balanced, man. Well, let's relate to the product as what it is. It's a low-cost guitar. It's made in the Far East, but so are Ibanez, and so are so many different brands these days. it's getting harder to tell what's from where. But if you look at the overall thing, it's a good foundation of a guitar that you could build on and improve. It works as it is, which we've already tried since we fitted the strings and the rest, and you haven't. So it has been tried, and we know what the results are. So for what you pay and what you get, it's, as I said, a good foundation that you could enhance the guitar, and not for a lot of money as well. And you know, there's not a lot involved in that. It's true that as you improve on your playing, you'll get to a point where you'll want something different. There's no doubt about that. But what do you want for your £72, give or take? And I've seen them cheaper. Well, it's very hard to really criticise it, unless there was something that didn't actually work, but that's not the case. What do you think, Al?
I think, taking into consideration the pricing structure of it, I think it's absolutely an ideal beginner's guitar. There's not a big outlay, and you'll certainly get used to the fundamentals of playing with this sort of guitar. I always find Strats that bit more exacting to play than, say, a humbucker Gibson type guitar, which is a bit more forgiving. You have to be more precise, I think, to play a Strat, and I think it will be a really good beginner's guitar. And as Tony says, you can upgrade the pots, the pickups. There's routing out in there for humbuckers, so you could technically make it a neck and bridge humbucker and single split coil in the middle. So yeah, there's
what's not to like?
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there should you want to make it grow with you. But as a beginner's guitar, I think it's absolutely brilliant. If I'd had that sort of 40 years ago instead of the thing I did have.
Yeah, my top 20 guitar from Woolworths, remember that. Lastly, if anybody remembers the guitar I bought from Hell a few years back, and there's a link down in the text, as there is for a lot of things on this particular video, to that review of that guitar. It was an appalling guitar, and it cost hundreds of pounds, and supposedly had been checked over twice by the quality people. It had never been checked, and I ended up sawing that guitar in half. It wasn't as good as this guitar, and that says a lot, bearing in mind that it was literally hundreds of pounds. Okay, well, we're on to score. Well, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, and for the reasons that I've mentioned, really. I'd have liked to have seen wiring that was shrouded, and that would reduce the hum quite dramatically for literally pence difference. So I'm going to give this one about an 8.5 out of 10, bearing in mind that it is not a guitar for a professional musician. It's a guitar for a beginner or somebody just wanting to pick guitar up. And I think for that, for its 8.5 score, I think it does that quite amicably. Okay, well, just to round off, Glarry Music. They make lots and lots of different devices. We've got bass guitars here, acoustic guitars, Telecaster style, Strat style, more acoustic guitars, some violins, if you're into violining. I can never do that. Saxophone, clarinet, acoustic drum, and even a digital piano. So definitely worth a view. And loads of cases on the back which look reminiscent of other brands. Yeah, so you've got accessories and all the rest of it to go with it. And that code, by the way, 5% off everything was GDM1. So if you do go to the site, yeah, you can get your 5% off. Glarry Music. Yeah, I'm as happy as Larry. Oh, sorry, Glarry. So now we turn the lights on. It's all gone white again in here. Forgot to do that. Okay, well, that's it. Don't forget to visit www.tonymackenzie.com, where it's just been moved to a brand new server. So it's greased lightning. It's almost as fast as this. Yeah. So go and have a look on there for reviews and all that sort of stuff. We've got lots of stuff on there. And so there's nothing left to say now, except that we're going to go outside, plug it in, crank it up, and play some rock guitar. So there's only one thing left to say.
Get out of here!